finally, another difference about teaching English in Japan and Korea, cost of living. So everyone wants to go to Japan because it's Japan, it's cool, there's all these different cities and landmarks and, cultural sites that you can visit, and it's a very, very interesting place. If you have the means, or if you want to teach in Japan, please do it. Just be mindful, however, that the cost of living in Japan is extremely high. And it doesn't matter if you live in Tokyo or in, I can't remember the town, Takasaki, where I was. It's still extremely high. So take for example, if you do the JET program, which stands for Japan English and Teaching, I think. Japan English and Teaching? I didn't do the JET program, obviously. But if you come over on the JET program, they will pay for you for your flight to and from Japan. I didn't do the JET program because the JET application is like a year-long process, and I wanted to go to Japan now. So I did a middleman company, and I had to pay my own flight. So you have to be mindful that you might have to pay your own flight depending on what program you choose. But even if you do the JET program, you have to pay for your own rent. And again, be mindful when you first come to Japan, you're probably not going to see a paycheck for about 2 months. And that's just the way how they do things there. You're not going to get your first paycheck until about 2 months after you've arrived. And when you get your apartment, you have to put up a lot of money. There's something called key money, which is different from a deposit. It's just, I guess, an insurance money. You never see it again, by the way. And it's at least $1,000 to $2,000 that you have to put up front. When you get your apartment in Japan, you're going to be paying at least $3,000 to $4,000 up front, because you're going to have to pay the first few months rent with that key money, I think. There's key money, there's deposit money, there's fire insurance, earthquake insurance. There's a ton of money that you have to put up front when you first get your apartment in Japan. So you're going to be broke those first 2 months or so while you're in Japan. Also, food is crazy expensive in Japan. When I left that rural village that I was living in for the first year and I moved to a bigger city, I was lucky enough that there was a Costco about 15 minutes away by car from where I lived, which is great. But then again, I also had to have a car. So when you get a car in Japan, you have to pay something called shaken, which is basically kind of like a test to make sure that your car is road approved in Japan, and it can cost you anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000, and you have to pay it maybe I think once a year, twice a year. So that's expensive. And then with the car that I bought my car. I didn't rent a car because I was there for several years, and I think it's just more cost effective to own the car than to just keep renting. So I bought a used car, had to pay shaken on it, which is, altogether about $7,000 for the car and the shaken. So there's that, there's rent you have to pay, which can be anywhere from $500 a month to $800 depending on where you live, if you're in a Leo Palace or if you're in your own private dealio. But then, there's food, there's rent, there's utilities, which can be really expensive if you're not careful. I didn't really use the heaters, especially in the summer with the aircon. The summers are brutal in Japan, but I really try not to use the aircon because it's so expensive to use your utilities. What else? Travel is expensive. It's just a really expensive place to live. When you get in a taxi, the starting rate is about 780 yen, which is roughly about $7 US, and that's before you even go anywhere. That's just the starting rate. So it's pretty expensive living in Japan. I was there for 4 years and I didn't save any money. I was paying off student loans, and I didn't actually manage to pay off a student loan until I moved to Korea. So Korea, way cheaper than Japan. If you are thinking of like, if you're choosing between going to Korea or Japan, from a strictly financial point of view, do Korea because it's way cheaper and you're gonna save so much money. If you're trying to pay off student loans, if you're just trying to save up some money for later on, Korea's definitely for you because that way you're gonna save a ton. Alright guys, that about does it for my video for teaching English in Japan versus teaching English in Korea. If you guys want to know more, please comment below and suggest some things, and I can probably make some more videos probably talking more about my experience in Japan or my experiences in Korea. Please give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.